We're going to be talking about what happens when a tariff goes away. Specifically, we're going to be using the example of Brompton Bicycles, a bicycle company in the United Kingdom, when tariffs that previously had been in place are planned on being removed. So the problem, the tariffs are going away, and the impact on local manufacturers may be significant. The local manufacturers are worried that they're going to be undercut by foreign competition. They're worried about the low-cost labor in those countries due to a number of factors like lower cost of living, higher unemployment in those countries, meaning that more people want to or have to work, less stringent labor ethics, and lower costs for materials due to local sourcing not available to them. They may also worry about the devaluation of their own product. There may be lower standards of manufacture in other countries, resulting in a bad name for the product class as a whole. And they may be worrying about the anchoring effect of the low prices offered by cheaper brands, which, even if they aren't bought, mean that people expect bicycles to be cheap in general. So the government has different worries. They might worry that it might lead to a reduction in local employment, local skilled manufacturing capabilities for a number of different things, reduction in local tax base, poor quality imports pushing out higher quality local goods, including Brompton, and loose labor laws in other countries affecting those laborers there adversely. So the government has to decide what to do. The first question is actually, why were the tariffs there and why are they being removed now? So they might have been there for a number of different reasons relating to local industry. They might have been there to help UK bicycle manufacturers get their products developed. They might also be there in order to help local bike manufacturers take the risks that might help them develop new technological capabilities. They might be there due to political or economic considerations like votes, which matters in a democracy, domestic employment, or encouraging other social welfare that wouldn't be supported by foreign imports. Now, if the tariffs are being removed for other reasons, or the tariffs were there for other reasons having to do with the country of origin, like poor labor laws, which are unethical, unwillingness of that country to recognize intellectual property rights, actions of those markets of flooding the market in order to establish a monopoly, or other things that are not allowed by WTO rules, like government subsidies, quotas, or tariffs, then these might have been punishments for those actions. They could also be punishment for political actions like wars or other condemned activities that that country is engaging in, even if the manufacturer themselves are not. And that could even include alliances that country has with countries that have engaged in these unfair practices. So we're going to go through some of the options. The first one is tax policy. There might be tax rebates for local industry that would not apply to foreign manufacturers. And these rebates could take many forms, some of which are for the consumers, but only on local bicycles, some of which are for the manufacturers, for each bicycle produced or at each part of the manufacturing process. In the next slide, I'll indicate the direction in which the following factors are affected, like price, government finances, consumer surplus, producer surplus, international relations, and social benefits. The direction may not indicate whether it's good or bad for the country, just in which direction it's going. I'll indicate whether it's good or bad from the government's point of view by putting on a plus, minus, or equal sign. So in terms of the ones that we just discussed, the tax rebate-based mitigation measures, the price of the good is going to go down, which is a positive because more people will then have good bicycles. The government finances would also go down, which is not good because then the government has less money to spend on other things. The consumer surplus, it probably won't be changed because the bikes are getting cheaper just as foreign imports are getting cheaper. The producer surplus might increase. Brompton might want to produce more bicycles, but not be able to. International relations probably wouldn't be affected, but social welfare probably would. Things like the economic stimulus of the government pushing more money into the local economy, more jobs, better health, and so forth. So we're going to deal with the next one, which is non-tariff and non-quota restrictions on imports. So that could include things like requirements placed on the goods, in this case bicycles, that are not easily met by cheap foreign labor. So, for instance, must comply with UK labor practices. That could include healthcare, which is already provided to all members in the UK, and other countries would then have to meet, or the manufacturers would have to meet individually, which would drive up the price of the bicycles. This could also include things like no use of child labor, no use of forced or prison labor, no other coercive or unfair practices. In addition, the bicycles should have to comply with UK safety standards and be inspected to verify that. That would reduce the cost of injuries resulting from cheaply made or unsafe products being passed on to the UK health system, which the government would have to pay for. Inspections on foreign goods would provide an additional cost of imports that might actually function as a tariff, but might not cause the same kinds of political repercussions as an actual tariff. So in this case, the price of the good would probably go up, which is a negative. Government finances would also go up, which is a positive. Consumer surplus would probably go up, which is a negative. Producer surplus of other goods might go up, which is a negative. International relations would probably go down, but social welfare in terms of the other countries and Britain might both go up. Option 3 is somewhat more limited, and that's designation of a certain product like Brompton bicycles, which are unique, like foldable bicycles, as being a product that is under a different designation. That means that those specific versions of bicycles can be protected without placing a tariff on the entire class of all bicycles. This is likely to be very limited in scope and impact. The price of the good is likely to go up because it would have more of a local monopoly. Government finances are not likely to change. Consumer surplus might or might not change. Producer surplus might or might not change. International relations, same things. But social welfare in terms of job retention probably would change. So in this particular case, we've talked about Brompton bicycles and bicycles in general, about how to protect local industries or mitigate the loss of tariffs without imposing new tariffs. We talked about subsidies to local trade through tax rebates, through restrictions on foreign imports by insistence on a level playing field, by designation of specific local products as unique versions as capable of being protected. There are many other options. We also talked about the effect on consumer and producer supply, government finances, social welfare, and other factors. And those are going to vary based on the choices made. And these are some of the references.